and it is a system of moral principles. Okay, and for Greek, this is called the ethos, which means character, and this involves the study of body concepts, so it's either good or bad, right or wrong. Okay, so this is the topic outline. So what is research ethics, milestone in ethical development, and code of ethics. Then we have the fundamental principles for conducting research with humans. Then we have ethical issues and concerns, then how to do informed consent. Okay. So, ganun lang siya kasimple. Okay, so basically there are two types of ethics. So we have so-called descriptive ethics and prescriptive ethics. So for descriptive ethics, it tells us how your friend, the community, believe what is right or wrong. Whereas for the prescriptive ethics, this is your own decision, okay, or belief of what is right or wrong. So, research ethics becomes an ethical issues when the human person is involved in as a participant in research. Okay. So therefore, research ethics serves as our guide, okay, in the responsible conduct of biomedical research. So yeah. So, and there are three objectives in the research ethics. These are the ethical considerations that forms the major elements in research. So the first one is to protect human rights, okay, or human participants. Then we have the second one, this serves the interest of individuals, groups, and or society as a whole. Then to examine specific research activities and projects. So this involves issues like the management of risk, okay, the protection of confidentiality, and of course the informed consent. Okay. So this is a milestone in ethical development and the code of research of ethics. Okay, saan nagsimula yung ating guidelines sa ating research in ethics. Okay, this the Nuremberg Code. Okay, this is the first international guidelines of ethics. Okay. So, this is because of the Nazi experiments. Ito yung mga German physicists, okay, that involves experiments to prisons without their informed consent. Okay. So, medyo matagal na konti yung kanilang experiments. So, ano yung mga principles with regards to the Nuremberg Code? So, we have the 10 principles that is for the protection of human participants. Okay, so ito yung naging basis sa lahat ng sumunod na ng ating guidelines, ethical guidelines. So the first one, we have the voluntary consent, good for society. So animal experiment first. So hindi mo pwedeng diretso agad sa tao. Okay, so we'll start with the animal experiments. So applicable to sa nat side. Okay, sa natural sciences. Then we have to avoid unnecessary suffering. Of course, that is to maximize benefits and minimize the harm. Then we have, importante dito, okay, conducted only by qualified persons. Okay, by qualified persons. So, hindi pwedeng kasi mag-experiment ka na lang na hindi mo alam yung ginagawa mo. Okay. And this followed by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay. So, ibig sabihin nun that each human has certain rights and freedom. Okay. Then, in spite of this two codes, okay, so marami pa rin lumabas ng ethical issues or unethical research. Okay, so ito yung mga examples, yung mga ibang mga lumabas pa rin. Ayan. Okay, so because of that, okay, nagawa ulit ang Helsinki Declaration naman. Helsinki Declaration of 1964. This involves, again, the importance of a good research design. So, medyo nadadagdagan na. Okay. And this time, then we have the risk-benefit assessment na. So, nakalagay na dito sa Helsinki. Then, ano dagdag pa dito? We have the ethical obligations of authors and journal editors. Okay. Then, we have the protection of research participants in developing countries. Then, followed by the National Research Act of 1974. So, marami siyang guidelines. Okay, so this was created for the protection of human subjects of biomedical and this time with behavioral research. Okay, so kasama na siya. Then comes the 1979 Belmont Report. Okay, so ito yung sumunod ng guidelines nila. And this consists or involves fundamental principles for conducting research with humans. So we have the respect for persons, then beneficence, then we have justice, and the non-maleficence. Okay, so these are the 4 fundamental principles. Okay, so ito rin ang nakalagay dapat sa informed consent. Itong 4 na to. Okay, then followed by the science guidelines. Okay, the science guidelines, that is the Center for International Organization of Medical Sciences. Okay, and then UNESCO guidelines develop the Universal Declaration on Bioethics, bioethics and human rights. Okay. So what are these fundamental principles for conducting research with humans? So ito yung importante kasi because this serves as the major elements in research, conducting research. Okay, this is based on the 1979 Belmont Report. We have again the respect for persons, beneficence, justice, and non-maleficence. Okay, so there are 4 principles of respect for persons. The first one is autonomy. That is the responsibility of the participants. Ano yung responsibility ng participants? That is an open voluntariness. Okay, so hindi po pwedeng persahan dito. Okay, so hindi pwedeng persahan. So the contract between the researcher and the participants is by means of an informed consent. Okay, so yun yung contract nila ng magbayad sa kanila. Okay, then the next one is the telling the truth. Of course, kailangan i-discuss sa kanila, okay, regarding the research design, the research process, research, the benefits, the risk, okay, the possible risk in your experiments. Then we have the confidentiality. Okay, so lahat ng informations, okay, gathered or collected during the research process ay dapat it remains confidential. Okay, so hindi pwedeng ipagkalat. Okay, then have fidelity, of course. Then, to apply the principle of respect, as I mentioned a while ago, we have the informed consent. Okay, so ito yung kontrata natin with the researcher and the participants. Okay, so and there are 3 requirements for the informed consent as outlined by the Belmont Report. Okay, so we have the disclosure. That is disclosure of information to the participants. Ano ba yung dapat gawin? Ano ba yung ginagawa? Ano ba yung gagawin sa kanya? Okay, ano yung magiging benefits niya? Okay. Then we have the comprehension. That means, that is the capacity of the participants para sabihin, oo, papayag ako, oo, hindi ako papayag, hindi ko siya naiintindihan. Okay. Then we have the voluntariness. Okay, walang pilitan dito. Okay, so yun ang one of the requirements for the informed consent. Okay, and we have special cases. With regards to the informed consent, we have the special populations. Okay, so specifically yung children natin. Okay, for children, there is a need for an assent form. Okay, pag sinabi yung assent form na yan, ito naman yung contract na magbabay between you and yung children below 18 years old. Okay, so yung assent form na yun, kailangan, sabi lang nila na papayag ako or hindi. Ganun lang siya kasimple, papayag or hindi. So aside from the informed consent for the parents, okay, or the permission from the parents. Okay, then we have, how about for the community context, okay, yung special populations. Pag marami, di ba minsan ang hirap kumuha kayo ng informed consent. Pag sa isang community, lahat isa-isahin mo, isang group lang naman sila. So hindi na. So sabi ni Belmont Report, pwedeng representative lang siya sa community. Okay, so pwedeng representative. So hindi nila kailangan puntahan sila bahay-bahay isa-isa para sa informed consent. Okay, and of course, our responsibility as a researcher is to give feedback doon sa ating mga results, yung nag-gather natin na results sa kanila. So, yun po yung ginagawa namin ngayon sa National Catechetical Study. Okay, so bumabalik kami sa kanilang lugar, okay, from Aparit to Davao, okay, para magbigay ng feedback kung ano naging results nila. Because as a researcher, okay, yun ang maging responsibility natin. Okay. Then another application is of course the privacy and confidentiality, okay, ng ating mga participants. Okay. Then the next one is beneficence. The beneficence. So the application of beneficence is the risk-benefit. Is using the risk-benefit assessment. Okay. So that means you should maximize the benefits to the participants and minimize the harm. Okay, so kailangan sinicheck maigi. Okay, ito ba ay hindi magkakaroon ng risk sa ating mga participants. Okay, yung gagawin sa kanila. So, ito ngayon yung trabaho ng ating ethics review committee. That is the risk-benefit assessment. Yan yung ginagawa. Okay. So, in non-beneficence, that is to minimize, of course, the risk. That is to minimize the risk. And there are different categories of risk. So we have the physical risk, the psychological risk, we have the social risk, and the economic risk. When we mean physical risk, ito yung, of course, yung ating bodily harm. Okay, dapat prevent bodily harms. Okay, or bodily harm. Okay. Then we have the psychological risk, that is to preserve or to observe the mental health of the participants. Then we have the social risk. Okay, the social risk, ito kadalasan kasi yung social stigma para sa mga respondents. Di ba, lalo na for the special issues, yung mga sensitive issues, like yung HIV, sexual abuse. Okay, so I think enough for yun, some expedited review. Okay, then we have the economic risk. Okay, the economic risk, that is the financial capacity, okay, ng research mismo, and of course, yung ibibigay nyo sa inyong mga participants. Then we have the justice. Okay, the next one is justice, the last principle. Okay, that is fair treatment or equal treatment to your participants. So walang mayaman, walang mahirap. Kasi mahirap ka dyan, itong gagawin ko sa'yo. Okay, mayaman ka, itong gagawin ko sa'yo para sa experiment mo. So, hindi mo pwede po yun. Okay, and we have special guidelines. We have, with regards to the women, pregnant and lactating women. Okay, so may special guidelines to based on the science 2001 guidelines. Okay, so medyo mahaba-haba rin kasi okay, so what are the ethical issues and concerns, okay, in research? So these are the ethical issues. We have the authorship. Okay, yan lagi nagtatalo, di ba? Okay. So sino mauna? Sino yung dapat kasama at hindi? Ayan. Dahil boss mo, kailangan kasama mo ako, ha? So wala tayong magawa. Minsan sinasama. Okay. So ano? Okay, ano yung mga conditions dapat na kailangan isama sila? Okay, then we have data management, and data management will be discussed by Ma'am Karin. Okay, so data privacy kasi siya. Then we have the research misconduct. So we have the fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. Then research with human subjects involves the ethical and the asset and the concept. Okay, so authorship. Sabi nga natin kanina, okay, minsan nagkakasamaan ng loob, ako mauna, ako yung pangalawa, ako yung huli. Ayan. Okay, so ano ba yung rule talaga? So according to International Council of Medical Journal Editors, okay, so ito yung sa medicine kasi, may association nila, ito dapat yung mga conditions. Okay, so lahat ito, hindi lang isa. Okay, yeah, so to be listed as an author, dapat ma-meet mo ito tatlong conditions. For the first one is he or she contributed substantially to the research. So may binigay siya, may kinotribute siya, may ginawa siya. Dapat significant yung contribution niya. Okay. The second one, he or she wrote or revised all or part of the manuscripts. So ibig sabihin kahit na paano naman, nagbigay siya ng contributions. Okay. Then the last one is approve the final version of the entire article. Hindi ka pwede maging author, yung palamat ayaw mo, maging part noon, so nilatanggal ka dun sa as an author. Okay. So, the acquisition of funding, the collection of data, tandaan natin, or general supervision of the research group do not justify overshare. So, ibig sabihin nun, kasi nag-collect akong data. Okay, dapat kasama ako dyan. So, yan yung laging issue. Sa amin din ganun din. So, sabi, kasama naman ako, nag-collect naman ako data. Masama ako sa inyo. Okay, so sabi hindi siya kasama. Okay, do not justify as an author. Okay, the first person listed should be the person na yung maraming ginawa o maraming involvement dun sa research. Okay, so dapat hindi na nagtatalunan na yun. Okay, the first one then followed by the decreasing involvement in research. Okay, hindi siya alphabetical order. Kasi kadalasan, kasi kahit sa mga estudyante natin, di ba? Alphabetical order na lang, hindi. Okay, so yung decreasing involvement na dapat. And pinaka-last author, according to ICJME, okay, so pinaka-last author is pinaka-senior ng group. Okay, so yung pinaka-senior ng group, kadalasan siya yung last author. Okay, so for example, yung advisor, ikaw yung pinaka-last author. Pero sabi nga natin, may new rule kami dito sa UST na pag sa publication, kailangan yung advisor at nasa first. Okay, so kasi mga estudyante daw, maalis kasi sila. Okay, yung pangalan ng UST, dala-dala. Okay. So, as I mentioned, data management, si Ma'am Karin na yan mamaya. Then we have the research misconduct. Okay. According to the Office of Scientific and Technology Policy ng US, okay, misconduct defines as the fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism, okay, in reporting research results. Okay. So, ano fabrication? Fabrication, ginagawa lang natin yung sarili natin ng results. Okay. So, yung iba, mukhang tinatamad yata, sige, gumawa na lang sila ng sarili ng results. Lalo na pag-quanti, madaling gumawa niyan. Di ba? Pag-quanti, data lang. Okay. Then, falsification. Ito yung mga tinatawag natin na si doktor, na tumagin siya ng doktor. Diba? Ang doktor ng results. Okay, so, then we have plagiarism. Of course, in plagiarism, that is the cut and paste na sinasabi natin. Cut and paste technique na ginagawa ng mga estudyante natin. Okay. And there are different two forms of plagiarism. The first one is the that intention, yung pagkuha natin ng word for word. Okay, that is the copy-paste technique. Okay, the copy-paste technique, napasok na lang nila, okay na siya. Okay, without proper citations. The second one is unintentional paraphrase. So, kumuha naman po ako dito, kinuha ko dito, kinuha dito. At without the proper citation, automatic, it falls sa plagiarism. Hindi porque na sinabi na, pinagsama-sama ko lang. Okay, so dapat sinasite lahat ng references. Okay, and of course, to avoid plagiarism, ayan, always use quotation marks. Pero dapat yung research paper, you should minimize quotation marks. Okay. Then, instead of using the quotation marks, you just simply paraphrase. So, paraphrase nyo lang, okay na yun. Then, cite kung kanino mo nga. Then, yun ang pinaka-the best kasi. Then, okay, so there are regulating bodies with regards to protection of human participants in health research. Okay, ito yung practice natin dito sa Philippines. Okay, the first one is the national regulatory authorities. Sino yung national regulatory authorities natin sa Philippines? This is the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Ito yung FRED natin. Okay, so under the DOS, ito yung FRED. Okay. Then we have the Institutional Ethics Review Committee. So dito sa UST kasi marami kaming ethics ERCCOM. Okay, so meron kami dito sa graduate school, meron sa pharma, meron sa PT, we have sa nursing, meron sa science, we have sa medicine, meron sa hospital. So, ganun karami mo ang aming ethics review committee. Okay, so per college dahil marami kasi kami mga estudyante. Okay, so usually ang pinag-cater namin ng per college is mostly mga estudyante namin. Para sa Faculty of Pharmacy, yun lang mga students namin sa Faculty of Pharmacy. Okay. And those those requiring na yung mga students namin ang as a participants then will undergo sa aming research committee din. Okay, masasubmit ulit sila ng documents. Okay, then we have the individual, of course, individual informed consent. Okay, so, and the guidance natin for the ethics review committee ngayon, this is based the National Ethical Guidelines of 2017. And we have other international and national guidelines with regards to the ethics of research. Okay, so may 10 minutes na lang ako, so bibilisan ko na lang po ito. So, these are the different types of paper, okay, for review. Okay, we have the exempted, expedited, and full review. So, how to classify the research paper? Okay. And to classify as an exempted, okay, paper, okay, this is, the exemption is based on the 45 CFR. Ito yung federal regulation, okay, 46.101 letter B. So may B kasi may iba-iba kasi siya, A, B, C, D, ganun iba-iba, per category kasi siya. Okay, for letter B, this is the categories of exempt for human subjects. Okay, for human subjects and research. Okay. So we have exemption. So makikita natin kung exempted yung mga papers nyo sa ating review. Okay, so that involves normal educational practices. Ito yung to the example, assessment of medical technology students. Ito KPS to. Okay. Or KAP. Okay, so, and its integration in the medical technology curriculum. So exempted siya. Then the other one is anonymous or no risk test during surveys. So literacy, so KPA pa rin siya. Okay. Then involving public officials. That example is graft and corruption practices among selected public officials exempted for review. Then we have the public available database or public documents. Okay, ito yung mga alam na natin saan nanggagaling? Kadalasan sa Facebook, di ba? Okay, sa internet. Those are public documents. Okay, so pwede kasi accepted for review na yun. Okay, so tulad ng Facebook, kasi Facebook, kaya nga lagi sinasabi, pag nilagay mo sa Facebook, hindi na sa'yo yun. Okay, maaari na ng public sa. Okay. Then, public benefits or service programs, so accepted pa rin for review, that is policy. Okay, so policy review ito. Then we have the taste and food quality evaluation and consumer acceptance. Okay, kung masarap ba yung Jollibee or hindi. Okay, so accepted for review mga yan. Then, for the expedited review, sino ba to? Sabi nga, posing minimal risk to research subject. Ano ba yung tinatawag na minimal risk? Okay, the minimal risk, this involves minor changes in your previously approved research paper. That is, so instead of using the middle adult, you decided later on, young adult na lang ang gagamitin nyo. Okay. Then, the next one, analysis of information without interaction with the subjects. That means secondary data. Ang mga secondary data natin, it falls under expedited review, especially mga medical records. Okay, those are secondary data. Then we have the, if informed consent is needed from the subjects, that measures to protect the privacy. Okay, so expedited review pa rin noon. Okay, na kailangan talaga ng informed consent nila. Then we have multi-center or multinational research project, and it's already received a full review from another research ethics committee. That is the case of Denbaksha. Okay, yung Denbaksha kasi may mga international studies na siya. So, approve ang ethical considerations nila. Okay, ano nangyari sa atin? Okay, so nangyari sa atin, ang sabi nung sa ethics review, pilot testing lang tayo sa Philippines. So, that means sampling. Ang ginawa ko kasi ng DOA, massive. Okay, so massive na injection by vaccination. So, yun po yung nangyari doon. Kaya kung bakit nagsisi hindi po sa ethics review committee. Kasi malinaw po yung certification nila na for pilot testing naman sa Philippines. Okay, expedited review. Now, okay, does the previously approved drugs or devices. Okay, so expedited review yun. Then, ayan, collection of blood. Kadalasan kasi sa amin sa medtech, ayan, ito ang lagi namin issue. Ayan, collection of blood. Okay, to be considered an expedited review, okay, dapat yung pag-collect ng data not to exceed 550 ml in 8 weeks. Yung 550 ml is equivalent to 1 pack of blood bag. Okay, so in 8 weeks. Or not more than 2 times per week ang collection. Okay, so ginagawa ko sa mga estudyante ko, babaan natin ang volume para hindi ka ma-full board review. Kasi pag na-full board ka, ang tagal po. Ayan. Okay. Ang tagal kasi nagpa-convene lang kasi lahat ng mga reviewers once a month. Okay, minsan pa, syempre, depende sa my schedule, nag-jump kami na isang month, so every other month. Okay, so yun. Then we have the collection of specimens by non-invasive means. Ito yung sweat, okay, the fluid, hair, teeth, expedited review po yun. Okay, for example, sa salivary glucose and amylase as biomarkers. Yung ginawa po kasi experiment mo estudyante. Okay, then collection of data through non-invasive means, but this excluding X-ray and microwave. Okay, so ECG pwede po yun, EEG pwede po siya. Okay, expedited review pa rin siya. Then collection of voice, video, digital, or images, telemedicine system. Okay, so expedited review. Then individual or group characteristics or behavior. Okay, so ito yung mga perception, vision, ayan. Expedited review pa rin. Then for the full review, okay, the full review that is more than minimal risk. Okay, sino ba yung magpa-fall ng full review? Okay, of course, the vulnerable groups. Okay, so ito yung mga children, mga old age, mga elderly, then youth at risk, and mga autism, special child. Okay, so ito sila. Full review pa rin talaga yan. Okay, so the elderly and autism. Ito yung mga ibang research papers na kasi. Then, of course, the sensitive topics. Sensitive topics will fall under full review. Okay, kasi minsan tinatanong na, ito na naman ang gagawin namin, no? Full review. Kasi may mga issues kami ng full review. For example, yung pagko-collect ng specimen through vaginal swab, gano'n. So, full review. So, nagtaka sila bakit full review. Sabi namin, under the guidelines, talaga full review siya. Okay. Then we have indigenous communities. Okay, so mga indigenous, so full review pa rin yun. Okay, kasi may sariling guidelines ang if your participants is under the indigenous communities. So may sariling guidelines din naman. Okay, then we have the genetics or biological information. Okay, mga DNA. Okay, under full review. Then, the research that will cause physical or psychological harm or pain. Okay, full review pa rin yan. Okay. Then we have the intrusive interventions. Okay, so hindi lahat ng interventions ay pwede natin expedite. Okay, so that is called under full review. Okay. Then research involving respondents through the internet. Okay, ito yung mga Tinder, di ba yung nagawa nila na dating net, full review po yun. Okay, yung iba kasi akala nila hindi raw, exempted, no. Full review po siya. Okay. So, then we have the research involving deceased persons' body parts. Okay, yung mga autopsy. Okay, sa mga nag-aaralan na, full review siya. Okay. And for the continuing review, so, ito yung mga longitudinal studies. Okay, there is a need for a yearly renewal of the ERC certificate. Okay, for the longitudinal studies. Okay, and this is the guidelines in doing the informed consent. Okay, ito kasi based on the National Ethical Guidelines 2017. Ito yung pinakabago, kaya medyo toxic yung paggawa ng informed consent. At ito rin po yung gagawin ninyo. Okay, sa workshop nyo. Okay, the informed consent. Ano ba laman ng informed consent? Okay, the person, it stated the project title, version, and data, investigators. So, sino ba investigators? Ilagay lahat dapat ito ng pangalan. And the statement that the study involves research. Okay, dapat nakasulat doon. You are being invited to participate voluntarily in the study and title. Then before you agree to join the study, you need to know the risks and benefits. Nakasulat lahat talaga ito. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Talagang detalyado. Then the purpose and conduct of the study. Ano yung objectives mo? Okay. The significance of the study. Dapat nakalagay sa informed consent. Kaya medyo mahaba po ngayon ang informed consent. Hindi before, isang lang, paragraph lang okay na, tama? Minsan, napakaliit nga lang, isang ganun lang siya. Parang nasa 1/4 lang yata siya ng bond paper. So, hindi po. Mga ilang pages din po ito. Okay, then study procedures including all invasive procedures. responsibilities of the participants, expected duration of the participants, nakalagay din po. For example, in this study, you will receive a 5-part questionnaire that consists of questions about, detalyado po, nakalagay siya. Okay. Answering these questionnaires may take 15 minutes. Talaga nilalagay po kung ilang minutes ko silang istorbohin. Then, however, if you have the right to withdraw from the study anytime and will still receive the appropriate care. Okay. So, nakalagay po siya. Then, approximate number of participants in the study, the inclusion, exclusion, and withdrawal criteria, study aspects that are experimental, kasama po lahat. So, for example, the approximate number of participants in this study is 140 nurses, and the qualifications include, okay, this is the inclusion criteria, then we have the exclusion criteria. Okay, in experimental studies, they include the withdrawal criteria. Importante, the withdrawal criteria. Then, foreseeable risks to participants, okay, so including pain, discomfort, dapat nilalagay lahat to. The researcher will do their best to guarantee that the participants will not be harmed and will only have minimal risk involved. Diba? Ang toxic, talagang nilalagay po lahat. Pero actually, ito rin po yung laman ng research paper mo. The methodology, tama ba? Ito po yung laman ng methodology. Okay. Reasonably expected benefits or absence of direct benefit to participants. Then expected benefits to the community or society. Okay, so ano yung mga significance niya? Nilalagay lahat. Okay, then financial considerations din po, nilalagay. Then we have the, if ever, ito kasi applicable lang po sa mga clinical experiments, yung compensation or insurance. Okay, applicable sa mga clinical experience, clinical research. Then, the statement of participation is voluntary at pinaka-importante sa lahat, voluntariness of participation. Your participation in this study is voluntary and you are not coerced or actually influenced. So, talagang nakalagay po siya. Okay. So, ito po yung contract talaga na magbabind sa inyo between you as a researcher and participants. Okay, then describing the extent of participants, okay, then statement describing the access of participants, lalagay din doon. Now, you may have to access the study information held by the principal investigator at the end of the study. So, nakalagay po siya. Then we have, of course, the confidentiality statement. Okay, all of your information will be strictly held confidential. Okay, so, persons to contact, nakalagay ito. You can call or ask questions regarding this study, the contact person for further information, and so on. Okay. And that the statement that the Block Ethics Review Committee has approved the study, ilalagay din po dito kung sino Ethics Review Committee ang nag-approve. Talagang nakalagay siya. Then, of course, the informed consent ng ating respondents. I have read and understood the above information and have been given the opportunity to consider and ask questions. So, detalyado, then signed by the respondents. Okay, then, hindi lang yung respondents ang nagsasign. Okay, so meron tayong witness and meron tayong researcher's signature. Okay, so kompleto po siya. It's informed consent based on the new ethical guidelines. Okay, so therefore, you must not begin any data collection involving humans or animals until you have received ethics approval for your research. Kadalasan po sa estudyante na unang ginawa bago maantay yung results. Diba? Kasi nga po, mga estudyante natin, orado sa kanong sasabit, pag nandyan na. Yan. Kasi nga hindi ready sa grade, pag malaya. Yan. Okay, kaya lagi namin silang binibigyan ng time. Okay, tapos na po, okay, ito yung ating mga references po. So, medyo maraming salamat.
Question po ba tayo regarding we have several, okay? While I'm fixing this, maybe Ma'am Oyeng can facilitate.
Sige, ako naman.
Yes.
My question naman is it ethical na kapag nag-collect ako ng data, i-split mo po siya into two topics? Parang isang collection lang po ng data, pero ginawa mo po parang
Several studies. Pwede po yun.
ethical.
Yes. Proper citation lang po na nasa literatures natin. Proper citation. Pero kadalasan, bawal po kasi self-citation. Bawal ang self-citation. So, pwede mag-iwalay, pero hindi po pwede kasi according to sa iyo, bawal na. Unethical po kasi. Yes.
Actually, ma'am, I have many questions kaya nag-iintay ako baka may gusto pang magtanong. On the first one, this is of lesser importance since this is social health anyway, but I decided to ask it anyway. On the principle of animal testing first before human testing, are we still not revisiting that? Because yung kasing animal testing first before human testing, it's a very old appreciation of humans at the top of the food chain rather than being just a part of the whole ecosystem. Kaya nangyayari, inuumpisa natin sa mga hayop who cannot give consent instead of humans who technically can give informed consent. That's the first one, ma'am. The second one is on the question of getting consent from a community context. You said before that in certain cases, it is allowable for us to gain consent, not from everybody, but rather from a representative of the community. Now, I would like to ask, do we have a checklist para masabi natin with confidence na ito yung representative ng community who can actually give consent for the community? Baka kasi mamaya we got our consent from somebody, then later on, bigla tayong mabablindside na, hindi naman kasi yan authorized to give consent for us. So, I'm quite concerned about that. Then the third one is on the authorship or the choice of authors. Do we have any binding guideline right now in the Philippines on deciding the rules of authorship? Kasi from what I have observed, I have taught in 3 universities now and magkakaiba sila ng appreciation kung ano yung rules of authorship. Kahit sa dati nung nasa UP ako, bawat unit magkakaiba ng appreciation kung ano ba talaga yung rules of authorship. Pang-apat po is, nag-uusap kami kanina regarding one of the kinds of research that was considered as exempted from full review, yung pag ikaw ay magpapataste test. Hindi po ba kapag you're already asking your participants to ingest something, it could already be something that is harmful to them. Kasi paano kung nagpataste ka ng isang bagay and na-trigger yung allergic reaction niya. And panghuli po ay when we submit our proposals for ethical review, meron po ba yung pre-processing? Kasi for example, tinitingnan ko siya, on one hand, if you make use of secondary data, it's often either exempted or expedited. On the other hand, if it involves, for example, adolescent sexual behaviors, it requires full review. Paano kung yung study mo ay it's a study about adolescent sexual behavior, pero yung methods mo naman is more on secondary data. Baka mamaya, pagkapasa mo, i-full review agad nila and therefore na-delay ka substantially dahil nakita nila adolescent sexual behavior yung topic. However, hindi agad na pre-process na yun namang methods mo ay very non-intrusive. So, iniisip ko po, ano ba yun? Default agad na full review, tapos i-hintayin mo lang yung decision nila na hindi, expedited na lang ito. Or mayroong body that handles parang pre-trial, kumbaga, before the full review process.
Okay, so yun po natin services ay natin.
Okay po.
Okay, so with regards sa animal po, okay. So sa animals, as the natin, participants natin, di ba? Okay, set of human. So meron po kasi tayong regulations po na nag-approve with regards to the animals, animal handling, then animal as the participants or the subject. Okay. So ito po yung ating IACUC. So International Applied for Center. IACUC po. Meron po kasi kami dito sa UST yun. Though ang meron lang po noon UP, UST. Meron po ang sa FREP wala po sila kasi nga pinasa na kasi nila sa UP, UST. So ilan lang po kasi ang meron nun, the IACUC. So hindi ka basta-basta na, okay, gusto ko rats. So pwede ko na siyang kunin, no? So medyo mahaba-habang kwento ulit doon na pwede na magpa-approve sa IACUC. Okay, so process po siya. So may sariling guidelines para sa annual guidelines. Okay. Then the second one, sir,
Is more on the community.
okay, the community context po. Doon sa guidelines na binigay ko po sa inyo kanina, the Belmont Report, kumpleto po ito, the specific guidelines. Pero with regards to that, okay, so nakalagay naman po doon sa akin kanina as long as na-approve ng body na siya yung representative. So once na may nag-negate or nagkaroon ng reaction, then violent reaction, then automatic po yun. Answer, hindi mo pwede. Okay. Then the third one is
Ma'am, yun po sa authorship.
okay, yung authorship, yeah. Yung authorship kasi, merong ibang, tama ka, sir. Ibang organizations kasi ibang guidelines ang ginagamit nila. Pero sa amin kasi ito, we use the International Council of Medical Journal. Since na social health kami, nasa medical po tayo, so yung po yung ginagamit natin with regards to that. Okay. Kasi I think, hindi ko rin po alam po anong ginagamit nilang rule dun sa UP po with regards to authorship.
May I just add, bawat journal may reason description of medical author.
Adding to that, depende kung projects naman. Kasi on projects, we have employed, let's say, the two people you're seeing all the time, sila and then Tisha, they're employees of the project. And sila yung primary na nagko-collect ng data, and then sila rin yung primary na nag-draft ng data. And despite that fact, they cannot be named as the primary author, and the project leader becomes the de facto primary author of that policy siya ng DOST.
Awesome.
Use of taste test.
Okay, the taste test. Yeah, pag involves po kasi ng ganun na taste test kasi talagang that caused body harm na kasi siya, please, automatic po siya expedited review. Yes po. Para pag perceptions lang kasi siya. Okay. Pag sinabi mo lang na masarap ba or hindi.
Okay, so hanggang perception lang,
Yes.
wala mismo.
Then,
The last one, ma'am, is on yung pre-trial before a full review of the ethical.
yes po. So, meron po tayo based sa national ethical guidelines po natin. Nandun po yung detailed po. So, meron kami talagang process. So, pag submit po ng documents kasi, the chairman or the secretary, okay, so siya po magsasabi, this is for the accepted, expedited, or full board review. That means may preliminary po na study sa papers mo. Binabasa. So, meron po kaming form kasi, doon parang sa form kasi makikita mo na kung may sensitive issues, okay, so may vulnerable na subjects, so makikita na po sa so, pwede mo na mailagay, except ito, so expedited documents. Okay po, thank you. Okay po.
Alright, for that time,
Pag-accepted po, kaya
Yes po, ngayon po kasi before, wala silang ganong guidelines, pero ngayon kasi because of the 2017 guidelines, so meron na pong certificate for the accepted review. So that means magsasubmit pa rin po talaga siya. Yes.
okay. A round of applause for Dr. Oliver. I'm sorry po, we're very strict with schedule this morning kasi we wanted to give you more time. Actually, we shifted our time just so that you have more time to collaborate, organize your ideas later over lunch and present by 1 p.m. Din po yun. Yeah, presentation by 1. So, given that, Ma'am Oy's talk was supposed to be given an hour. I'm supposed to give an hour for data privacy. Everyone should have been given an hour except that except for our plenary, our keynote, Dr. Salonga, who's still from Japan. So, bigyan natin siya ng 1 hour. For us, naging 45 minutes na lang po kami lahat. Ayan. So, hindi ko alam paano ko i-condense ang aking data privacy na 3-day seminar into 45 minutes. I think I'll be missing out several workshops, definitely several workshops. Anybody here near Dumaguete or wala? Because I'll be in Dumaguete later this month. There will be data privacy training there. So I'm part of, right now I'm not RCSSED, I'm representing the Philippine Social Science Council. So I'm the lead data privacy person for qualitative research. So apat po kami sa team, and we have one for quantitative, the one for policy and guidelines, and then the former executive director, Amar Amaryllis Torres, and then myself. So, we do data privacy training for various institutions. Dapat nga po kahapon na sa FEU ako, FEU ng morning, kasi merong dito sa FEU Manila, merong massive data privacy training, and I said, how do I divide myself, right? I can't do that. So, may iba nag-step in for me. But anyway, my goal today is to introduce you data privacy as an act and the repercussions to us. Most of you have heard about data privacy. Nabigyan na kita ng staple nito when I did my lecture. Alam niyo, si Christine, ano yan laging advance ko sa inyo pag ako mag-lecture kasi I usually run my lecture before I run it with everybody else. I have that sweet thing for Palawan State. So, I lecture for them for free. So, anyway, going back to our lecture here, data privacy as an act came out and it changed our landscape. Yep. Have you noticed when you order Jollibee? Let me start with that. Haven't you noticed that when you order in Jollibee or McDonald's or whatever delivery service, there's a long charade about, so we're going to be collecting all of your data and we might use it someday. And if you're using your cell phone, you're thinking, please just move on. I want to order. And the thing is that they have all obsessed about this because of the Data Privacy Act that has been enacted already, meaning it's a law and people can go to jail. So far, there's no researcher that has gone to jail yet. I think because most of us don't fight with our communities or that, but I think soon enough there will be cases on this. But the Data Privacy Act has been very problematic. In the UP system, it created a chaos. Why? Because a good example is now UP is very, what do you call this? Very active in telling its population that, okay, we're going to be collecting some parts of your data and storing it, and this is what we're going to do about it. UST has also done that recently. So all of the big universities are doing that already. If you're in other universities, maybe you should check with your offices and ask, hang on, how much of my data are you using for whatever and why are you collecting it? Now I'm trying to practice data privacy on a daily basis. Like for example, you check into one establishment and they would let you fill up a form or whatever. For example, a hotel, and then they ask you, can you write down your name and your cell phone number? And I would say, I don't want to write my cell phone number, but it's a requirement. And I would tell them, but data privacy. But usually they don't understand at that point. So they'll say, "Ma'am, kailangan talaga." So anyway, the point is, hindi pa po alam ng marami ang concept of data privacy because it was recently released. Let me explain a bit about this. In the Philippines, I don't know if you can see it clearly. In the Philippines, the Data Privacy Act came out more from the economic side. It was on the business side. So a lot of people who were working on the issue of data privacy started with credit cards, the use, the stealing of profiles and that. So wala ditong concept on data privacy in the context of research. This was data privacy based on stolen identities and commerce and trade. So you would notice all of that. All of these laws are based on those economic things. And then it was only sometime in RA 10175 that they talked about anti-cybercrime bill. So this one is not just focused now on the commerce, but it's now extending its hand onto pornography and cyber sex issues and stolen identities online. So that's where it came from, and then the usage of technology to wiretap. So all of this came about, and then it was on 2012 that we finally signed the Data Privacy Act. But it was only of late that we started talking about it because the IRR was not figured in immediately. So the IRR, I think, was released 2 years ago, and it was only then that people started thinking about it. And especially that one case actually won and about identity theft. You know, when call center agents, right? Okay, another thing you notice about Jollibee when they ask you, or McDonald's, right? We used to hear the operator say, so what's your name? And you say, I'm Karina Landria. And then they say, okay, Karina Landria, your delivery address is. They tell you, right? They used to tell you the address that you gave them the first time that you ordered, right? And so if you're a good stalker, all you have to do is like, I'm Karine, and then they say, okay, this is the address, you like write it down. So that's one issue that data privacy is protecting us from. Now how does Jollibee allow you to order? It says, okay, what's your name? You say Karina Landria. Can you tell me your full address? Every time you order, you have to tell your full address now. You say, can you tell me the number that we could contact you? And then you enumerate the number again every single time. Why? Because from the start of this, data privacy has already prohibited them from releasing information. So instead of releasing information, they capture information all the time. It has an impact in our lives because it makes it difficult for us to order a Yum Burger. But it's also difficult for the commerce. Why? Because that's wasted man hours. Yes? So may impact siya sa economics nila and then in our lives as well. But anyway, Data Privacy Act's goal is to protect us from undue usage of our information. So ito po yung mga objectives niya to protect us, our privacy. Good case scenario, G. Paredes sex video. That's a violation of data privacy, right? So somebody accesses computer, probably. I don't know the whole story, I'm sorry. Maybe a wrong example. But anyway, based on what I've just shallowly read, somebody supposedly accessed his computer and released his personal video online. So if that is the case, or okay, forget Jim Paredes. We have so many issues like the sex scandals wherein a boyfriend who was so mad or a girlfriend who was so mad released a sex video that was theirs, privately theirs. That person can now sue the other person for data privacy and a whole lot of other cyber cases, right? So, 1, 2, so regulates the collection, recording, organization, storage, updating, modification, retrieval, consultation, a whole lot more of personal data. I'm going to tell you later on the impacts of this. And then ensures that the Philippines complies with international standard. What are we complying with? It's the GDPR. Okay, it's the European Union's GDPR. So